Big win, guys. Big win. The vaccine mandates have been suspended. All right, the appeals court has actually blocked the mandates, citing that they don't think it's constitutional, nor are they sure if it's even remotely legal to be done. And hey, little heads up, a little inside baseball. It's not. It's not constitutional, obviously, right? We know this. It's not constitutional. There's nowhere in the Constitution. I can pull out my pocket Constitution right now and we could read through the entire thing together. Guess what? Nowhere in the Constitution does it give the federal government the authority to create a mandate to forcibly medicate people against their will. And that's what this is. Now, people could say, well, it's not really forcing. You choose to go work for these companies. When the government comes in and says, hey, your company's over this size, we're going to make sure that all of your people, they have to be vaccinated or else you'll receive a $13,000 fine per offense. That is forcing it. Because what happens when the people do not abide by that rule? People with guns show up and enforce the rule. Any law, any mandate, anything the government does is always done at the end of a gun. There's nothing the government does that is not force. When they say you're not allowed to smoke marijuana, guess what? They are forcing you to not smoke marijuana. Every law we have is done by force. Government has a monopoly on force. That's how, to a certain extent, unfortunately, the system works. Because of that, everything they do is, in fact, force. Every law they pass, every mandate they pass, every regulation that's ever been placed on a business. It doesn't matter what the regulation is. It doesn't matter how small the regulation is. At the end of the day, it's enforced with force. That is how the system works. They are forcing people to be medicated. This right here is just terrifying. It is awful. It is evil. Because first off, it ignores, of course, individual freedom. But second, even if you're looking at this in a different way of thinking, not everyone can get the vaccine. Not everyone can get the vaccine. So they're forcing people who might have, like me, who my doctor told me not to get it. You're forcing someone like me to get it and take on risks that I don't want to take on. You're forcing me to take on a risk I don't want to take. That's what you're doing when you do these mandates. So it's great. It is awesome to see the appeals court actually striking down, or at the very least, blocking the rule for now. So we got this story here from the Daily Mail where they talk a little bit about it. So OSHA suspended the implementation of its order-required COVID-19 vaccines for private companies after a federal court blocked the measure. OSHA announced Wednesday that it was ceasing all enforcement of the measure of the emergency order, which ordered companies with 100 or more employees to require vaccines or weekly COVID-19 testing or face a maximum of $136,000 in fines or $13,000 per violation. While OSHA remains confident in its authority to protect workers in emergencies, OSHA has suspended activities related to the implementation and enforcement of the ETS pending future developments and litigation, the OSHA website said. Now, let's go ahead and get this out of the way real quick. There is no constitutional basis for allowing OSHA to exist, period. All right, there's no way the federal government has that sort of sweeping power of anything OSHA does at all. And I know people are going to say, well, if you didn't have OSHA, what are you going to do? There'll be no laws. Everything would fall apart. But that's assuming that states are too dumb to figure this crap out on themselves, right? States would create their own versions of OSHA, and different states would have different regulations for their workers. That is how it's supposed to function in a republic. All right, our states are supposed to be like little laboratories trying out and testing new things to figure out, does this law work or does it not? And that way, if one state does something really stupid, like California, it doesn't impact the entire country. It only impacts that state for the most part. When it's done federally, it impacts everyone. It can ruin a country overnight. So OSHA has no reason to exist, period, on the federal side. It should not exist. It should be abolished. Same with almost every other governmental agency for the most part. There are very few of them that have any right to exist under our Constitution. Almost everything should be passed on to the state. But it is funny in that statement, right? They remain confident in their authority to protect workers in emergencies, their authority because they are the authority figure in our lives. They do not care about personal freedom. They never have, they never will. That's just the way our government works. Our government does not care about your liberty, your personal freedoms. They only care about their authority and their power. It's as simple as that. Now, looking at what what they said about the mandate itself, the circuit court judge Kurt Engelhardt wrote the prevailing opinion that the mandate goes too far and has grave concerns about whether the edict is legal or constitutional. Again, there's no way on God's green earth it's constitutional. If you can find me the portion in the Constitution where it says yes, the government can force medicate the masses, be my guest. I'll be willing to stand corrected. The mandate is staggeringly overbroad, the opinion said. The mandate is one-size-fits-all sledgehammer that makes hardly any attempt to account for differences in the workplace and workers. Again, here I have an issue here. The issue at hand is not whether it's difficult to enforce. The issue at hand is that the government has no right to medicate you against your will. They have no right to hold you down and inject you with something. That is not allowed, period. And people will fight back with it if it keeps going further and further. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice, DOJ, promised to vigorously defend Biden's vaccine mandate after it was held up by federal courts. The Biden administration officials are planning to request Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals to re-implement the mandate after it was temporarily halted in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Biden administration has argued the mandate is imperative for saving lives at a time when over 1,000 deaths are still attributed to COVID-19 each day. At least 27 states have filed legal challenges in at least 6 federal appeals courts after OSHA released its rules on November 4th. Now, that's also a big thing. Over half the states in this country, have filed legal challenges. Half the states in this country. No one wants this. No one wants these rules. No one wants these regulations except for the fringe. That's it. And the only reason a lot of people are going along with this is because it's easier to appease that angry minority than it is to just go with the masses who are, let's face it, more docile. Because we are more docile. I say all the time, I'm a peace and love kind of guy. I don't want to do anything. I just want to go out, go on a jog through the park and, have a farm, raise a family. That's all I really want to do. I have a wife, have a kid. I just kind of want to be left alone. That's all I ever really want. That's all I've ever really wanted. I just don't want people telling me what to do. That's all. Throughout my entire life, that's all I've ever wanted. And that's what most people are like. Most people just don't want to be told what to do in their personal lives. That's why we've had such great changes socially in many ways in the 90s, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. And guess what? Now we are still seeing some really great changes even today. If you want to talk about something that's like a big white pill for everyone, it is the fact of look at constitutional carry, right? The individual liberty for people to just go out and carry their firearms as they see fit. Back in the 80s, it didn't really exist anywhere. And now, you have, it's in the double digits of states that have constitutional carry. This is not, we say, make America great again. No, we're making it great in general. Don't get me wrong, I love the Make America Great Again slogan. I think it's a great slogan. I truly do. But you look in the past, we didn't have stuff like constitutional carry. We didn't. And it's spreading. It's spreading. More and more and more states are starting to sign on. Texas, everyone likes to go, well, Texas is a gun-toting state. Texas only recently got constitutional carry. All right? Texas now has constitutional carry. Multiple states. Again, we're in the double digits now for states with constitutional carry. Things are spreading. More and more people are just realizing they want to be allowed to just live their lives and be left alone. That's it. And I'm telling you, when it gets stuff like education, I hope that's the next thing where you start seeing more and more states allowing for, of course, a lessening on restrictions for stuff like homeschooling or, private schooling, religious schooling, or opening up more charter schools. So, of course, that the money follows the student and not, of course, basically the teachers' unions, right? So there is a lot of hope out there. There is a lot of hope. And 27 states filing a challenge about these regulations. 27 states are fighting these regulations. And here's the deal. Even if it goes up all the way to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court says, yeah, it's constitutional. Do you think all those states are just going to roll over? Nah. You think Florida's going to roll over? Well, DeSantis is there. It's not. Do you think Tennessee is going to just roll over? Do you think Texas is just going to roll over at this point? These states aren't going to just roll over. They're going to fight back, even if it don't matter what the Supreme Court says. Mind you, what the Supreme Court says doesn't matter in the first place. We saw that from Biden himself. The Supreme Court told him that the eviction moratorium was unconstitutional, and then he went and still did it. Right? They had to knock it down twice because he didn't listen to him the first time. And here's the funny thing. What was the punishment? Really, what was the punishment for him ignoring the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court only has the power that we give it. All right, the Supreme Court's never supposed to have been a big factor in our republic in the first place. I mean, when in its early days, it was in the basement, for God's sake. Like, no one really cared that much about Supreme Court. And mostly it was a way to help be kind of just a litigator in a way for a lot of politicians to say, I think this is right, I think this is not right. It was never meant to have the power it supposedly has today. But the reality is it has no enforcement capabilities. It just doesn't. The only enforcement capabilities it has is that if it says something is unconstitutional and the president ignores it, the legislator now has an excuse, of course, to impeach. That's it. So what happens when these states choose to just ignore the Supreme Court? You still have to then have the legislative branch and the executive branch to actually enforce that ruling. And do you really think they're going to be able to effectively enforce it on over half the states in the country? Nuh-uh. Not going to happen. We should be happy. We should be excited. And again, this is a great thing to see happen. However, it's not done. They can still appeal it. It's probably going to go up to Supreme Court. Who knows how they're going to rule on it? Again, the fact that the judge's opinion here was that it was overbroad, not that the mandate itself is unconstitutional. Mandating vaccines, they didn't say is unconstitutional here. He said the mandate was just too broad. So that's an issue. So we have to make sure we're on our toes. We have to make sure that, of course, we're still pushing, we're still protesting, we're still out on the streets, we're still letting our politicians know, if you ever allow these mandates to get through, we will vote you out. We have to make sure we are still having our fight, having some type of fighting spirit in us, because they aren't going to stop. They love their power too much, and this is giving them so much power. So, I mean, again, what do you think? I think this is a great moment, but what do you think is going to happen as it goes to the courts? Do you think it's going to be put back in place, or do you think it is done? Do you think it is just dead in the water at this point? Let me know in the comments below, as well as, of course, if you enjoy this video, hey, leave a thumbs up. Really do appreciate it. Really does help out a lot. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Why are you not subscribed? Subscribe to the channel. It really, trying to put out a lot more videos, so please subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and we'll be talking again real soon.